It was a brilliant morning in Geneva, the kind of morning where billion-dollar deals were sealed over lattes, and the world's most powerful minds gathered under one roof. The Global Future Tech Leadership Summit had just begun. Cameras flashed, reporters elbowed each other for a better shot. On stage, icons: Elon Musk, Christine Lagarde, presidents, billionaires, the usual. But then, something unexpected happened. A man walked onto the stage in a suit, not in polished shoes but in a calm, simple military uniform. Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, 36 years old, quiet, focused, and utterly out of place, at least according to the murmurs in the crowd. Some in the audience whispered, others chuckled. A journalist near the front muttered under his breath, "What's a revolutionary soldier doing on a tech panel?" Even Elon Musk didn't glance in his direction, just leaned back in his seat like the conversation hadn't changed. But Traoré noticed, and he didn't flinch. The moderator smiled nervously and tried to begin. Today, we explore how technology will shape Africa's future. First, Mr. Musk. Elon leaned forward, voice casual. Before we get dreamy about satellites and internet in the jungle, let's be honest. Africa needs strong governments, not military takeovers. No offense to anyone here. Nervous laughter bubbled through the room. The moderator blinked. Traoré sat still. But then, he raised his hand. "I'd like to speak next," he said quietly. The room froze. Even the sound guy stopped breathing. And just like that, the air changed. The energy shifted. The cameras turned. Elon sat back, arms crossed. Everyone was waiting. What would this soldier say? A man from a country most people in that room couldn't even find on a map. What could he possibly say to shake the stage? What happened next wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. But it would echo across the globe in a matter of minutes. Because sometimes, the quietest man in the room carries the heaviest truth. Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He sat upright, eyes clear, voice even. "Elon Musk," he began, "you speak of strong governments. But you mine our lands, control our skies, speak over our people." A hush swept through the room. "You build rockets to Mars," he continued, "while our children die beneath satellites made by your companies." A beat of silence. Then gasps. The moderator shifted in her seat, trying to regain control. Elon blinked, caught off guard. But Traoré didn't stop. "You don't understand Africa," he said. "You don't understand what we've survived. You invest billions in artificial intelligence. But have you ever sat with a mother in Burkina Faso who just lost her child to hunger while your Starlink blinks overhead?" The words hit like thunder. But he still didn't raise his voice. He wasn't speaking for applause. He was speaking for truth. In a dusty classroom miles away, a young African girl watching the live stream whispered to her classmates, "He's speaking for us." The moderator looked frozen. Elon, usually quick with a retort, said nothing. Then Traoré delivered the line that would shake the internet. "This isn't just about tech. It's about dignity. It's about people who have been used, then ignored." The air was different now. Some journalists lowered their cameras. Others leaned in. A silence more powerful than shouting had fallen over the summit. And in that silence, something shifted. For the first time, the tech elite weren't the ones leading the conversation. It was a soldier, a stranger to their world of numbers and projections. But every word from his mouth felt heavier, felt real. Within minutes, a single tweet exploded. "Who is this man? He just silenced the richest man on earth." And the internet caught fire. But Traoré didn't look at Twitter. He didn't need to trend. Because this wasn't a performance. It was a reckoning. And somewhere, far from Geneva, a place with no Wi-Fi, no cameras, no clean water, someone finally felt seen. The room was still buzzing from Captain Traoré's words, but no one was ready for what came next. Without warning, Traoré reached into his jacket. Slowly, deliberately, a few security guards tensed, but all he pulled out was a small black USB stick. He held it between his fingers like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "This," he said calmly, "is a recording." The moderator stood up, alarmed. "Captain, this isn't part of the program." But, he continued, "It was leaked to my team last week," he said. "A conversation between a West African minister and a senior executive from a company your summit proudly features." The room froze. Then, the screens behind the panel lit up. Grainy audio. A shaky voice. "We just need a signature. We'll handle the press. Once we get access to that cobalt mine, consider your retirement covered." A single name cut through the static. Tesla Africa Division. The room exploded in whispers. Elon's face turned pale. The moderator rushed toward the tech booth, waving her hands cut the feed. But it was too late. Phones were already recording. Screenshots were already circulating. Tesla deal leaked. Secret mining contract exposed. Headlines flashed across the globe before the summit could even blink. Some people cried. Some shouted. But most just sat in stunned silence. Because the man they'd mocked, the soldier they dismissed, he had just brought receipts, and the world was watching. Across social media, hashtags erupted. Number, Africa speaks. Number, no more silence. Number, stars before silicon. In the chaos, one clip rose above the noise. Captain Traoré, standing calmly, saying, "We don't want charity. We want truth." Somewhere in the crowd, a journalist whispered, "This wasn't a speech. It was an earthquake." But for Traoré, this wasn't about headlines. It was about a little girl in a village without power who once drew a picture of a hospital with solar panels and wrote one word underneath: hope. And that word was about to change the world. While the world reeled from the Tesla recording, a different story was starting to surface. It didn't come from a boardroom or a press release. It came from a little girl sitting beneath a mango tree. Her name was Amamira, 11 years old, big eyes, quiet smile. She lived in a remote village in Burkina Faso, in a small house made of clay and courage. Every night, she sat beside her older brother, Kader, who suffered from sickle cell disease. There was no electricity in their clinic, no machines, no power for treatment, but they still looked up at the sky. And every evening, Kader would point to a blinking light above and whisper, "That's Elon Musk's satellite." They didn't say it with anger. They said it with wonder. But wonder couldn't stop the pain. One day, Amamira saw a school poster for a medical charity. So she wrote a letter. Her handwriting was uneven, her drawing childlike and beautiful. It showed a hospital, powered by sunlight, and beneath it, just one word: hope. The letter was never answered. Kader's condition worsened. And while the world debated tech, corruption, and global equity, Amamira waited. Until now. Because as the Tesla leak went viral, a journalist digging through local files found that forgotten letter. He posted it online, alongside her drawing. And within hours, it exploded across the internet. It wasn't just viral. It was soul-shaking. People around the world stared at the image. A small girl's play. A sun-powered hospital. And a single word: hope. Traoré's team reposted it with a caption that hit millions in the heart. "This is why we speak. This is what matters." And suddenly, the conversation shifted. This wasn't just about billionaires, governments, or exposés. It was about a child who believed someone might listen. And that belief was now lighting up the world. Even Elon Musk said nothing. Because sometimes, silence isn't strategy. It's surrender. And somewhere in the red dust of Yakko, a little girl held her brother's hand and looked up at the sky again. Not for satellites, but for help. For 3 days, Elon Musk said nothing. Not a tweet, not a comment, not even a denial. The world waited. Tech analysts speculated. PR firms scrambled. Stock prices dipped. But Elon? Silent. Until suddenly, he wasn't. One tweet. 16 words. I will speak. No PR team. No filters. I owe the world transparency. Attached was a live stream link. Time. 8 p.m. GMT. Guest. Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The world held its breath. Would Traoré accept? His advisors warned him not to. Too risky. Too exposed. But in a quiet office in Ouagadougou, Traoré said calmly, he deserves to hear the full truth, and the world deserves more than noise. At exactly 8 p.m., over 38 million people tuned in. It became the most watched online conversation in history. Elon Musk appeared first, hair slightly disheveled, hands trembling. I didn't know, he said softly. I never imagined our contracts would end in this. I thought we were helping. Traoré sat still. You built rockets for dreams, he said. We built graves for the children your silence buried. Even Elon's expression changed, not defensive, just broken. Then Traoré reached into a folder and held up something small. A letter. It was Amamira's. He read it aloud. Please, if someone can help my brother, I will pray for you every night. We don't want money, just lights in the hospital, so we don't lose him in the dark. Tears streamed across faces on every continent. Even Elon wiped his eyes. She doesn't ask for money, Traoré whispered. She doesn't even ask for your name. She just asks for light. And then he looked at Elon with anger, but with something far deeper. Clarity. I didn't come here to destroy you, he said. I came to remind you what technology was meant for. To serve people, not pass over them. The live stream ended in silence. No mic drop, no applause, just a pause. That hung heavy across the globe. An hour later, a photo surfaced. Amamira, still at her brother's side, still looking up, still waiting, and somehow, through all the noise, her voice, as soft and handwritten, was the loudest sound in the world. The live stream shook the world, not because it was perfect, but because it was honest. In a matter of hours, Amamira's letter had been translated into 22 languages. People printed it, framed it, read it on street corners. Even classrooms in South Korea paused morning lessons to talk about the little girl who asked for light. And Elon? He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he made a call to the Tesla board. No PR team, no lawyers, just urgency. Something had changed. Exactly 1 week later, a small envelope arrived at Traoré's office in Ouagadougou. No logo, no stamps, just handwriting slightly uneven. It was from Amamira. Inside was a new letter. Captain Traoré, thank you. My brother is gone now. But before he died, he smiled at the light in the hospital. He said, now I can see the stars properly. I think he's up there with them. Traoré read it once. Then he forwarded it to Elon. And the world waited again. The next morning, Elon Musk posted a photo to X. It showed one thing. Amamira's letter, next to a single candle burning on his desk. No caption, no hashtags. But the world didn't need one. They understood. In California, a Tesla engineer quietly resigned. He posted, I joined Tesla to change the world. But this little girl just reminded me what that actually means. Crowdfunding surged. Over $10 million poured in within 48 hours. And something else began to change. African communities didn't just start donating. They started organizing. Solar panels, clean water, medical shipments, all funded by everyday people who simply believed the future should start with light. Across Burkina Faso, villagers began calling Traoré something new, the voice of the voiceless. And that voice was breaking through walls that had stood for centuries. But it wasn't just about Traoré, or Elon, or even the summit. It was about one girl, one letter, one candle, and a world that finally realized sometimes the brightest revolutions start in the dark. No one expected what came next. Not the media, not the politicians, not even Elon Musk himself. Because the man who had once stayed silent now boarded a plane. No entourage, no press, no announcement. Just a quiet flight to Burkina Faso. Captain Traoré met him at the airport. No red carpet, no military salute, just a pickup truck. They drove through dry roads, past villages with flickering bulbs, powered by old batteries. Children waved. Women carried water. Life moved slowly, steadily far from the noise of Geneva. Elon didn't say much, but he listened. And when they reached a school in Zenarai, something unexpected happened. The headmaster stepped outside, surprised. "We didn't expect you so soon, Captain," he said. "The kids are ready." Ready for what? Elon soon found out. Inside, dozens of children in white uniforms gathered with hand-drawn poster solar panels, rockets, and stars. One little boy ran forward and hugged Traoré. "This is Boubacar," Traoré said softly. "He lost his father in a mining accident. The mine was supplying lithium to a European company with US partners." Elon looked down, silent. Traoré turned to him. "You sell the future," he said. "But these kids are the ones paying for it." The words weren't cruel. They were clear, heavy. Then Elon knelt beside Boubacar. "Do you like science?" he asked. Boubacar nodded. "But our lights go off," the boy whispered. That night, Elon didn't sleep. And in the morning, he made another call. This time to his Tesla board. No spreadsheets. No PR spin. Just this. "We need to change how we build the future." A week later, Captain Traoré received a package. Inside was a sketch drawn in crayon. A rocket. A school. Solar panels. At the bottom, "For Captain T and Mr. Elon. Build this together." Signed, Sarah. A girl with no platform, no title, no followers. Just a dream drawn in bright colors. And in that moment, something clicked. Maybe the next revolution wouldn't start in a lab, but in the hands of a child with a crayon. Just as the world began to believe this story might have a peaceful ending, it didn't. 3 days after Elon Musk's surprise visit to Burkina Faso, something unexpected shook the continent. A private video leaked shadowy, grainy, but undeniable. In it, a blurred figure, a senior official from a global institution, whispered, "We can't let this alliance between Traoré and Musk go unchecked. Africa gaining tech autonomy is destabilizing." The internet erupted. Some called it conspiracy. Others called it confirmation. But one thing was certain: people were done being quiet. Across Africa, protests surged. From Dar es Salaam to Dakar, signs filled the streets. "Let Africa breathe. Power shouldn't belong to a zip code." At the center of it all, Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood calm, but surrounded by new pressure. Funding delays, threatening messages, anonymous sources warning, "You've gone too far." Even Elon Musk's private jet was denied entry into multiple African airspaces. The message was clear: back off. That night, Traoré sat alone on the roof of the presidential compound. He stared at the sky, the same sky that Amamira used to watch. He opened a small notebook and began to write. If truth is dangerous, then we must speak louder. But he didn't know how loud things were about to get. Because just days later, at the Youth Tech Future Summit in Accra, Ghana, Tens of thousands had gathered. Children wore shirts with Sarah's rocket drawing. Music played. Energy filled the air. Traoré was scheduled to speak about the Stars and Soil project with Elon Musk. But minutes before he took the stage, a blast. Smoke. Screams. Chaos. A homemade device had detonated near the parking lot. Security rushed Traoré to a vehicle. But then, he did something no one expected. He got out. Covered in dust, voice hoarse, he climbed onto the hood of a car. And, with nothing but a handheld mic, he shouted, "I will not run from fear. Not today. Not ever. You came here to listen. And I will speak." The crowd wept. Mothers hugged strangers. Even security guards dropped their weapons in tears. And then he said the line that would echo across a continent. They tried to blow up our courage. But now, we rise from the dust. After the blast in Accra, the world watched with trembling hands. The live stream replayed on every major network. News anchors called it a moment of defiance, in dust and fire. But for Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the fight wasn't finished. That night, he didn't return to his office. He went to the hospitals. Wards were overflowing. The smell of smoke still clung to the air. Children cried. Nurses rushed. Parents prayed in silence. And then he saw her. A young girl, tiny, burned, silent. Her name was Muna. The doctor whispered. She hasn't spoken since the blast. Trauma's taken her voice. Traoré knelt beside her bed, eyes heavy. He didn't say a word. Instead, he held her hand. And slowly, Muna moved her finger. She traced something onto the sheet. A star, then a heart. Tears filled his eyes. He leaned in close and whispered, "They want to silence voices like yours, but I promise, you will be heard." The next morning, the world woke up to something unexpected. A new initiative, Project MA, short for Muna Amamira, a continent-wide mission to fund trauma care for children in conflict zones. Powered not by outrage, but by technology. Traoré used the same solar blueprint offered by Elon this time, not just for hospitals, but for healing centers. And Elon? He matched the donation, quietly, without press, because this wasn't about optics anymore. It was about children. It was about Muna. Later that week, while sitting beside her hospital bed, Traoré brought her paper and crayons, and for the first time since the blast, she drew 2 figures, holding the earth. One had glasses. The other wore a captain's hat. And, at the bottom, a single word. Together. That drawing spread faster than any headline. And Muna? She smiled. For the first time, what tech summit could measure that? What stock chart could graph that kind of hope? The world wasn't watching a scandal anymore. They were witnessing a shift. From war rooms to waiting rooms. And in that shift, one truth became undeniable. The future didn't belong to boardrooms or battlefields. It belonged to the ones who still believed in light. The world held its breath one last time. The Global Tech for Humanity Summit had been rescheduled this time, not in Switzerland, but in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Security was doubled. But the energy? Different. Hope filled the air. Children from trauma centers were flown in. They sat in the front row wearing white. Their shirts printed with Sarah's rocket drawing. And on stage, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Elon Musk. No one expected Traoré to speak first. But he did. He stepped forward. No teleprompter. No notes. Just truth. "I don't fear bombs," he said. "I don't fear power. I fear silence." The room went still. Then he turned to Elon. "If technology is the future," Traoré asked, "why do so many African children still die from the past?" You could hear a pin drop. Elon looked down. then looked up, eyes glassy, voice steady. "You're right," he said. The room erupted. But Traoré didn't smile. He turned to the screen behind them. It lit up. Muna's drawing. 2 figures, holding the earth. That image would become the official logo of something new. The Stars and Soil Global Fund. Elon stepped up. "I've decided," he said, "to fund solar-powered hospitals in all 13 regions of Burkina Faso. No strings attached." Tears fell. Not from celebrities, but from nurses, teachers, mothers. In Tokyo, Berlin, Rio, people stood and clapped as if the applause could carry across oceans. But back in Burkina Faso, something even greater was happening. In a small hospital room, a nurse whispered, "Muna, they're showing your drawing on television." And for the first time, her voice returned soft and raspy. "Thank you for giving us a voice." That 4-second clip hit 100 million views in a single night. A week later, Elon posted a letter. It read, "I've met astronauts, engineers, and presidents. But I've never met anyone like Ibrahim Traoré. He speaks softly, yet moves millions. He doesn't chase power. He honors people." And then came the final scene. A dusty hilltop in Burkina Faso. Elon and Traoré stood side by side, solar towers behind them. Villagers all around, smiling, laughing, drinking clean water. Muna stood beside them. Traoré knelt and placed something in her hands. A plaque. "Future leader." Elon turned, voice low. "I finally understand," he whispered. This was never about ego. It was always about legacy.